Wow. Blueshirt Underground, motherfucker!
BSU Radio bad. BSU Radio bad. This is an unlawful gathering. This is an unlawful gathering. The truth is out there. The truth is out there.
This is the underground. This is new media. This is the underground. This is new media.
Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar. Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar.
And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers. And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers.
This is New York Rangers hockey. 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 This is New York Rangers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the one and only Blueshirt Underground Radio, the only place, the preeminent place to talk New York Rangers hockey, live with Jim and Eddie. We are welcoming back Eddie tonight. Eddie, good evening. Welcome back. I missed you. I told you that before we went on the air. I'll tell you on the air, I missed you. Welcome
You
back.
are a man. You are a man of credibility, a man of your word. Before show, after show, it's consistency. Let me tell you, I have missed my Ranger brethren, my Ranger sisterin, my Ranger pansexuals. I want to just cover all the bases here, ladies and gentlemen. I've missed every one of you Ranger fans. And talking about Ranger hockey, lots to talk about, lots of energy, lots of discussion, I'm sure, tonight. Now, we may be the preeminent talk for Rangers, but listen, I'm just a poor schlub from Long Island. What the hell do I know? So I'm not going to pretend to be a guru, a Cassandra, and be able to tell you everything. We've got guests for that. I just have the gut feeling and the intuition of a Ranger fan that has been following this team since 1975, for whatever that's worth in the year 2018. And thank you. I've missed you too as well, Jim.
Well, thank you. Yes, we are back, and we will be joined very shortly, joined again by Steve Kourianos of the Sporting News. He is also known as the Draft Analyst. Follow him on Twitter. Check him out at thedraftanalyst.com. Eddie, I have a copy of his 2018 draft guide that I have to send you that he was nice enough to provide a copy for you and
nice.
I. Steve had a lot to say when he was here 2 weeks ago.
I listened to the show. I wanted to be abreast of all the knowledge that was imparted. And
he was absolutely terrific, and spent about an hour. I don't know. I think it was over an hour with Joe and I, and fielding every question. He knew his stuff. He knew just about everybody. And I think there were only one or two names that we hit him with where he honestly said, "Look, I haven't covered him. I don't know much about him." But Steve is also like us. He's a Ranger fan. He's in our age, around our age group, so he knows both the pain and the joy. So Steve will be back with us in just a few minutes to talk about the Rangers draft.
Yeah, like when I first heard about, we got this draft analyst on, he's a friend of Joe's, Sporting News, he's written for MSG Networks. I thought we were going to get some some geeky dude who's going to come on here and be like, okay, man. Then I hear this guy, and he's a plain talker. He's, he sounds like, somebody on the street, but he's got the knowledge.
Right.
And I was very impressed by that. Because sometimes, a lot of times, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, we're celebrating, 9 years of doing this show? Some of these guys are they're a real yawn fest. I mean, some of them are just like, blah, 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 blah. But this guy was throwing past Ranger relevancy and drafting and what this organization has needed in the past, what has worked in the past. So it was good to get that. I didn't get I didn't get analytics thrown at me, and I felt like it was a good show. I mean, it's about as best the show is going to be without me. So that's saying a lot as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Because I'm a very humble man. But really, the show was. I am. And but he was great, and I can't wait to talk to him and get his take and get your take. And I mean, I feel like I've been away for like a month. But I don't know. I've had so much Ranger feelings welling up in me ever since I went to the Hall & Oates show and had that picture in front of Jimmy Vesey's New Jersey. I got all excited. I was like back at MSG, Ranger memorabilia within my touch. I got all jazzed and hopped up for Ranger hockey, and I don't know. It should be interesting. It should be interesting. I'm trying
to save my thoughts and just kind of, Well,
can I start the show off before we get to the particulars?
Do I have to play the music again?
No. I just before we get to, I need to get this off. I really need to unburden myself of this, because I got to tell you, social media is just become a disaster. It's pretty much ruined everything in my life. It's ruined everything I enjoy in my life. I used to like to talk politics at the table. Social media ruined that. You like to talk, whatever. It ruined that. I can't think of a second example right now. But now it's ruined sports. I can't take it. It's like everybody has got to be like, see, I told you I was right. Jim, how many proposed trades did I see that were going to happen during this draft that never came off?
Yeah, it was a ho-hum draft for sure. There wasn't much going on.
But I had to say, it was horrible. Whatever people, they're going to move up, they're going to do this. I know for sure this guy's going, this guy's not. Ba ba boom. Nothing happens. It's a giant circle jerk within the Ranger fans telling me, and then I told you, everybody wants to be proven right. I don't think one person picked this kid that they picked. Did anybody have, out of the millions of tweets that went into pick, did anybody pick this guy?
No. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I couldn't remember if Steve even mentioned this guy's name, this kid's name. He's not even a guy yet. He's a kid still.
Kid.
I couldn't remember if he mentioned his name when he was on the show. And the first time I heard about him was watching the draft, and Bob McKenzie, right before the Rangers pick, he says, let me tell you something. This kid right here, this Vitaly Kravtsov, the Rangers kind of like him, so don't be surprised if he's their pick. And I just sat there and I went, uh-oh. I went, there it is. They're going to pick somebody nobody's ever heard of, and they're not going to pick Wallstrom that everybody wanted. And it's just going to be a nightmare. And sure enough, they get up there. Here's old Beady Eyes Gorton and Glenn in his rumpled old Columbo jacket, and Chris Drury with that same stupid fucking look in his head. And they're all up there. And with the Rangers pick, they select Vitaly Kravtsov. And I just, holy Christ, here we go. Here we go.
Do you want me to jump right in with it?
Well, I don't know how far you want to delve before Steve gets here.
Well, let me just delve with I'm going to delve with the first-round pick. This was one of the worst picks that they overrated. It's the whole mindset of the Ranger organization. They think they are the smartest guys in the room. They're pulling out the wool over everybody's eyes. They know better. Nobody. We're smarter than you. We're not going with the consensus. We know Vitaly Kravtsov is the best. You don't even know. You don't even know. This guy. No. We know. You don't know. The rest of you in Dallas and in that arena, you don't know. We know.
Right.
And we know the Rangers don't know. They don't know. This was, to me, please, I don't even care how how great he turns out to be, and I think he's going to be really, really good. And I think, listen, I'm not going to whine. I love people whining, but I really think this pick, them not getting him, is going to come bite them in the ass, just like Bossy. We're going to have to watch this guy scoring while we got a guy from the KHL. I don't know. What's his status? Is he coming? Is he not coming? But we know. We know. They don't know. There's a reason it's a consensus. I'm sorry. I don't like the pick. I hope to God I'm so wrong. And we can play this tape. We can play, well, it's MP3 or whatever we're going to play. And say, see, Ed, the only Russian you didn't like was the one that panned out. That's what I want to be. But to me, I'm just sick in this. They're not the smartest guys in the room. They're the dumbest guys. We don't know nothing. You pick what everybody else is picking. Phenob. Phenomenal with this team. 1 year left on this guy. I got to wait for this guy?
Oh, he could buy himself out of the KHL and be on the team next year, this season, this upcoming season. That is a possibility.
Yeah, there's always why, Jim? Why? Why do we have an organized? I feel like now. Listen.
Well, wait. Let me just slow you down just a little.
You want to temper me? You want to temper my discouragement?
Well, I only want to say that I don't think there were. I don't know if there were any guys that they were getting at 9 that were a guarantee to be on the roster in October. I mean, Wallstrom was going to college. I think this guy might be a better possibility than some of the other ones.
But I thought this was 2 years?
Honestly,
we can't wait 2 years.
Well, I don't know. Honestly, after I read about this guy and learned a little bit about him, when it was all said and done, this was the pick I had the least problem with. This was the pick I had the least problem with.
A lot. This draft was stupid. This draft was crazy stupid. All the confidence I had in Gordon, gone. He's back to square one with me.
Well, no, I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I'm okay. I'm still all right with Gortz, but I'm done with Gordy Clark. Enough with the Gordy Clark. Stop telling me what a genius. Stop telling me what a genius Gordy Clark is. Okay?
And Gordy,
because he just keeps pulling these guys out of his ass year after year after year that don't pan out. So stop telling me what a genius Gordy Clark is.
No. He's good in the third round and up. But I can't trust him with a first-round pick.
Jesper Fast was his last gem.
I can't trust him. No. He's been talking about retirement. It's time to go. You go now.
Goodbye. Done. This is a young man's game. It's a young man's league. You've got a young GM.
Just go with the consensus. We're not the smartest people in the room. I mean, you would think. Now, last year, and I was listening to our upcoming guest. He said maybe they took heat too soon. And listen, I was impressed by Heater last year. He knows better than I do. But it just seems to me that this team is, when they get a guy on their radar, that's it. They're locked in. They got to have this guy, and he's never the guy that's listed anywhere around. You never hear about this guy. These guys. I don't trust the Rangers being the smartest guys in the room.
This was the Rangers' whole draft.
Defenseman.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Defenseman.
I mean, third round defenseman, fourth round defenseman. How many goddamn? Are we employing Costa's idea here? Is that what this is all about? Are we going 8 D-men?
I mean,
we were
don't
so
they
desperate
realize?
to pick defensemen. We're so desperate to pick defensemen that they're picking defensemen that have only been playing defense for a year.
Don't they realize we have Neil Pionk? I mean, seriously, they picked so many defensemen and a goalie. In a league where we need an elite talent up front, in the second round, they picked one forward. I mean, in the second day of drafting, rather. One forward. And in the first round, they picked one forward.
No, they picked 2 forwards on the second day. They did trade into the 7th round, and they took Riley Hughes from Costa's hometown of Sioux Falls.
Really? That's his hometown? How come I don't got that? I don't have that on my list. I'm looking at some shitty list. Oh, it's the Rangers website. That's why it's a shitty list. Riley Hughes, right? In the 7th round. Yes, you're right. You're correct, sir. I didn't see that at the end. I thought you said second round. I was like, I don't know. I'm not gonna. Listen, I don't pretend to know about these guys. I just know Mandar freaking flipped out. He said, "This is terrible. The Islanders made 2 great picks, and we got this guy who he thinks, again, what does he know anyway?" But he was like, we got this guy. He's got some high-end talent, high-end skill. But again, it's not where he's supposed to have gone. So,
Sioux Falls, Sioux City. What the hell's the difference? Nothing but Buffalo out there.
Well, I guess it matters to the people of Sioux City and Sioux Falls. But other than that, nobody cares.
Anywho.
So to me, I'm sitting there at the concert because I couldn't watch the draft, and I'm just seeing social media explode. Although I wasn't on Twitter, I was just saw on Facebook, and people flip it out. People instant messaging me like, "Are you as worried as I am?" I'm like, I don't know. Let me go home and look at this, and I mean,
get out my heat
I know
maps.
a lot of. Yeah, you get out your heat maps, your flow charts, your shot suppression parameters, or whatever they call it. And then, I saw Costa was checking every draft website to try to find out good stuff about this kid to counterbalance all the bad stuff we've been hearing. I mean, I'm sure it's not a bad. No, I'm not sure it's not a bad pick. I mean, I think it's Hugh Jessup, probably not. But I don't know. It's just annoying. I mean, you look at the websites. There's like a big blurb on everybody's first round picks, and the Ranger guy's got like 2 sentences. High-end talent.
What
is that?
You know what the best part? What was the best part about when the Rangers drafted? How do you say his name here? Keandre Miller, the defenseman, who I at first thought was Kournianos. When they drafted him, they showed a football highlight. They showed him playing high school football.
Oh, get out of here.
I swear to God. I swear to God that's what they showed.
I would have went into full thrombosis mode had I seen that. I would have had thrombo if I would have said it. They're showing football highlights of a hockey player that we just drafted.
He might be the second best quarterback in New York now. Who knows?
That's true. Oh,
he was a high school quarterback.
Listen, I can be as upset about this draft as I can be. I'm not losing my shit over it because I think the trading deadline we got Artemi Panarin's name is being out there. And what happened to Kovalchuk being a Ranger? I thought that was a cinch deal. You know, they should shoot that reporter that said he was coming to the Rangers.
That was the Russian reporter?
Yeah, the Russian reporter. Why doesn't Putin shoot him? Because, frankly, we wasted like 45 minutes of discussing this idiot, and he winds up signing with the Kings.
Right.
I don't want to waste my time here. Our time is precious here in the underground. We don't have time to listen to these Russian reports, the hooky faluki. Hey, the translator, the this and that. Well, the Rangers were in the discussion. I let him go to the Kings. It's all washed up. Not our problem. We got enough problems. We don't need to worry about an aging veteran. Watch, he scores 45 goals.
Right. And then the Rangers trade 3 picks to get him at the deadline.
Yeah. Then he gets hurt.
Then he gets hurt. But, you know, I try to not go into, like, New York Knicks mode because New York Knicks fans, and you know how I hate to bring up basketball, but really, they got nothing to root for. I mean, they don't make the playoffs. They stink every year. Dolan screwed that team even more than he screws the Rangers. The Rangers have had success. But you remember when the Knicks drafted Porzingis and everybody said, this is a terrible pick. It's horrible. They don't know anything. And it was the only thing I think Phil Jackson did good while he was GM. So maybe that happens here. That all the people, although I would people, I leave the experts and the people who know the business, but all the fans, it proves the fans wrong. And which I would love to be proved wrong, that the Rangers were actually the smartest people in the room. I cannot believe, since our esteemed guest pointed out in last week's show, the Rangers have not drafted a 30-goal scorer who scored 30 goals with them since Peter Pruka. And that only happened once, right? He only scored 30 goals once. That was an accident. I think he might not have scored another 30 goals his entire career.
I don't think he did.
I don't know.
Close. But we got Inverleeson back. So it was a great trade.
It's huge.
Or was that Laura Korpakowski?
I have no idea. Can't even keep up anymore. There's been so many projects.
Yeah, we need another project. Go to the K.
Got more. Rangers have more projects than Newark.
I mean, I don't get it. And then he draft a goalie? How many nod moves are going to make? Damn, Shostorkin ready? You got another. This guy's had like a lifetime contract in the KHL. Does he ever get released? I think he's got one more year, I think. It seems like we've been talking about this guy for like 5 years. Was he in a gulag? He's got to be released? Get Dolan by Russia or something and get him over here. And then you got this, they had to get Olaf Lindbaum. First pick in the second round, you're taking a goalie?
Swedish goalie.
Yeah, I understand. It's just a mishmash. It doesn't make sense. I mean, the Rangers now. I mean, you got Henrik, right? Maybe he's good for another 2 years. Maybe he's serviceable, like as a number one, right? And then last year we had what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name. The backup goalie there. Georgiev. Yeah, Georgie girl.
Right.
He played really well. Looks like he could be a number 2. We got Shesterkin waiting on he's on the back burner. He's one of the top prospects in Russia. He hear nothing but great there. So, hey, let's get in the war room. What do you think we should start off the second round with? Let's make a splash and take a goalie. What are they fucking stupid?
And
what are you going to justify these picks?
No. There's so many things that I took issue with that goaltender pick. But our guest is here, so maybe we'll go over them with him and see what he thinks. You ready to talk to Steve?
All right. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, making his second appearance. Here he is, Steve Kourianos. Steve, you did a great job over the weekend. It was great following your tweets, seeing all your write-ups. And what was great was that if you were following Steve's tweets, right, every player, you get it would say the Ducks take so-and-so, he's this. And then there'd be rapid-fire tweets. And then it said something like the Rangers are on the clock. And then all it said was, and they take a goalie. That was all he said. and then a minute later, there was a tweet, and I don't know if this was your grade or what, but there was a tweet that just said F.
No comment. I plead the fifth, like everybody else nowadays. I'm pleading the fifth on that one. I'll leave that to Ranger Nation's imagination.
You leave it to me. It was a dumb move. It's so stupid. By the way, Zeddy, I'm sorry. I'm very excitable. I'm very excitable, Steve. So.
No, I am too, Eddie. It's good to talk to you. And I was telling Jim last week that I always like your videos. And this is what I've learned. I've learned that, when I was a young kid, and we talked about this last week, where living in Brooklyn, we didn't have cables, so you could only really watch Ranger games on WOR. And then so it really was a lot of listening to the radio, listening to the games on the radio. And I'll never forget and I was about 13 years old, but when they got eliminated from the playoffs in 89, they got swept by the Pens. Howie Rose, God bless him, went on this crazy rant on FAN. It was overnight. He was saying, they can't hurt me. If you're a Ranger fan, just keep telling yourself they can't hurt me. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this. I'm like, man, this is real powerful stuff. And it had a profound impact on me. And you go from 89, you go through all the peaks and valleys of 92 and then 93 and then, of course, 94. And you just go through. So it's always been ups and downs. But as I've gotten older, I finally figured out, okay, I'm not going to let this team – I'm going to take Howie's advice. I'm not going to let this team hurt me. And so even during the regular season, even during some of the playoff losses that have been really crucial, and I've been, superstitious and doing the same routine so they could score the overtime win or do whatever. But, when it's come to the draft the last 4 years, every time I've walked out of the arena, I literally felt sick. And, and people like, you're a professional. Like, I'm not a professional. I'm literally a Ranger fan that is so sick and tired of this team destroying the draft that I said, I got to dig deep into it and figure out why. Why don't the Rangers draft well? And if they draft well, why can't they either keep the players or why can't they just do what Detroit's done and what the Islanders have done and what Montreal used to do and, even what Tampa Bay's doing now. And I always give them the benefit of the doubt. And the funny thing is after the fourth embarrassment in a row, which was this weekend, I did some research, and I was looking at all the quotes that Gordy Clark and Sather and now Jeff Gordon made after picking the Jessamins and the Philip Novaks and drafting, the Bobby Sanguinettis and drafting the Al Montoyas. It's the same thing all the time. We had this guy rated really high. He was our second best pick.
That's right.
Our first best stat. It's the same thing. And we talked about the beat writers last week, and I know it's tough for them, but I would love, for them, these guys working with the Rangers, including Sather, he's the king. They sit in some ivory tower, and to Gordon's credit, he's actually more available to the press than Sather ever was. But when are these writers going to take them to task and say, hey, what happened in 2014? None of your picks are still with the organization outside of the 2 goalies. What happened in 2015? The only kid you got left is Ryan Gropp, and he's barely going to make it. What happened in 2016? When are they going to start asking, like, hey, why do you keep going after other teams' prospects? Or why? What's been going on with the drafting? Because the drafting was really well. They did really well in building the 2012 team, the 2014 team. But a lot of that was on the draft. And I'm just wondering what happened after 2013 or after 2014.
To answer your question, the beat writers, what are there, 3 left? So, I mean, how many can they who can ask them anymore anyway? You're right about that. If hockey was an important sport in the metropolitan area and got some coverage, they would be all over the New York Rangers for their bad drafting. I mean, it would be...
You hit the nail on the head, man. Seriously.
And it's got us... I mean, you're a guy who studies and you're in the know. You almost got a double whammy because you're in the know, you know what's going on, and you're a Ranger fan, and you got to watch it just totally blow up right in front of your face.
It's horrible. You know what's funny is after round 1, I was upset at round 1. I know a lot of Ranger fans, maybe the younger ones who still don't know any better, they were like, no, there was a great draft. It was a great draft. And this is why if you're a Ranger fan right now and you're listening and you're telling yourself, I think we had a really good first round. And forget about Kravtsov because I love that kid. And actually, when they made the pick, it was one of those like, oh, snap. All right, okay. That's a good pick. Like, I like him. But if I told any Ranger fan on June 18th and I say, hey, Bobo, guess what? On the day of the draft in round 1, the Rangers are going to trade 26 and 48 to go to 22, and they're going to take Keandre Miller. How many Ranger fans are going to literally shoot me in the face with a shotgun? If I told them that was going to happen, I was the only guy that had control. You know what I'm saying?
He's a great high school quarterback, though.
Now you got the pancake syrup brigade coming out and like, well, the Rangers, they're scouts, they must know better, and blah blah blah. Let me tell you something. You know what the worst part about that whole thing was Chris Drury. Drury, the biggest bust of a free agent that we ever had in the organization. They might as well have had Stefan Quintal sitting next to him. And Valerie Kamensky, like, giving advice to Gorton. Who do we take now? Oh, take Keandre Miller. Right. And the thing is, I like Miller as a kid. I've said a lot of nice things about him all year long. But to trade a second-round pick that you stole from the Devils for Grabner, to move up 3 spots because Minnesota wanted to take a defenseman. There's like 10 kids in the draft just like Keandre Miller. He's not that unique of a prospect. It really killed me. And then the coup de grace was St. Louis doing the same thing the Rangers did, except it only cost them a 3rd rounder. So I really don't know how the Rangers – I know, listen, the Rangers front office and the scouts, they all get together and they say, hey, great job, guys. You know, we hit a home run. But I don't understand how the fans and even real analysts, professional analysts, not guys like me who's just a fan that blogs and just follows the games. I'm talking about the guys that have been scouting and then do this on the side, like how they could look at what the Rangers did and not just shake your head and say, oh, yeah, what is this team doing?
It must be like that. Once again, the Ranger organizations think they are the smartest guys in the room. They're smarter than everybody. And even though it bites them in the ass every year after year after year, slacks whoever's making the final decision, and this time we got to lay it on Gorton. And I agree with Jim. I mean, Gordy Clark, I like what he's done in the later rounds over the years, but really, he scares the death out of me in the first round. I can't take it anymore. It's just not working. It's not working. And
so,
it did work. I agree with you on all points.
It did work. It worked in 2011 with Miller was a good pick. I thought it was great. They hit a home run with Brady Shay in 2012. They did a great job with Kreider. You know, when Kreider was picked, I was pretty upset, and I said they should have taken Jordan Schrader. So I'm not going to be this guy that says every player I've told them to take, every player I've told them to take is the one that turned out to be the better player. No, I mean, I've been wrong. When they took Dylan McElrath, I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe this kid can be, a real intimidating number 2 defenseman that the organization needed. But what you've looked at in the past, not just really the fact that they haven't had first-round picks, but I've noticed what other teams do. Calgary was a good example. They just did it this weekend, where if you don't have first-round picks, you don't have a lot of picks, you just really go for a home run. You go for that best player available, that impact player type. And what I notice what the Rangers do every year is they seem to take these just real safe guys, like guys that, if you've been a Ranger fan for 30, 40 years, we've always had the safe guys, right? We've always had, like, the James Patricks, and we've always had, you go down the list of all the players that they've drafted. Even a guy like Sergei Nemchinov, I love him, but he was a late pick, but he was like a safe guy, guaranteed to play in the NHL. And Neil Smith, to his credit, he was always the guy that went after those crazy skill types. He swung for the fences with Kovalev. He swung for the fences with Doug Weight and Zubov. He always went for skill. Sometimes it backfired, okay? They went for the Ferraro twins in 92. They went for Nicholas Sundstrom in 93. Didn't work out that great. But still, the idea is like, hey, you're not going to win without real skill. Guys that, like, the other team has to plan before the game even starts to stop. And, last year when they passed on Casey Middlestad to take Elias Anderson, I was really upset. I'm like, what games are they watching? And the funny thing about the Elias Anderson pick was it was made by the Islander defenseman that terrorized us for years. I forgot his name already. They're not Janssen, the other guy. And I'm like, so they're letting it out.
Bruno Gervais?
No.
I'm only kidding.
No. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, it was I forgot his name. But anyway, he's the guy that. Say again?
Tom Curvers. I'm just throwing
that. No, not Tom Curvers. It was a Swedish guy, but it was Anders Kaller. That's his name.
Anders Kaller. It was a forward. Yeah.
Forward. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Kaller makes the former Islander bleeds blue and orange. He picks Elias Anderson ahead of the better players, and then he leaves the organization. Then he just goes. He's like, hey, it's not my problem now. And then Casey Middlestad becomes the MVP of the World Juniors. Goes to the Buffalo Sabres and has a point a game, and he's going to be playing with Eichel and Dahlin for the rest of his career, and probably is going to win a couple scoring titles. So, I don't, like I said, this organization, I like what they did with the Kravtsov pick. It made sense to me a little bit because I did watch the kid play a lot. But what they did after that, really. So if you guys want me to break down some of the players and get off my rant.
Bring up my positive energy. Tell me about the first-round pick, why I should embrace Kravtsov, and why should I? What do I have to look for? What do I have to look forward to?
All right. Well, first of all, number one is he is that guy. I know Larry Brooks wrote about it. He actually is a top-line winger. He's the guy that, we always felt that Kreider, we're waiting for Kreider to be that dominant guy, and it kind of comes in spurts. When he's on his game, Kreider can be one of the best wingers in the game. But Kravtsov is just loaded with skill. I mean, he's big. He's about 6'2", 6'3". He's going to he's wiry right now. Probably put on another like 10, 15 pounds. But he's a really good skater. He's fast. He's got a long reach. He could dangle. I mean, there's a video of him circulating that he really made a fool out of a adult age Russian defenseman. So the biggest thing about Kravtsov, what stands about what he did this year is in Russia, they never let the teenagers play a lot in the KHL. What they do is they bring them up. They probably hit them and like make them go through some special forces type of training or starve them or I don't know, but they don't play. They put
them in a gulag.
They put them in a gulag. They probably
and then they let them out. Recreation. Yeah. You play hockey. You play in the K.
They probably play like anywhere from a minute to 3 minutes a game. So it really skews their stats. So if you're a fan of a team that has a Russian prospect, you're like, dude, he's got 1 point in 49 games. Like, it's really not that kid's fault. It's because they just don't. They feel like it has to be earned more than we do here in the States or in Canada when it comes to prospects. So, but what this kid did is he made the KHL team about a quarter of the way into the season, and then he stayed there and he played about top 9 minutes, which was a huge deal. But then he started to perform. Then he started to produce to the point where in the playoffs, the kid was lights out. He was averaging a goal a game. He was scoring or a point a game. He scored a couple of game-winning goals in a big series that they had. And that's, I think, what tipped the scales in his favor, is that you have Wahlstrom, who a lot of the fans wanted. And, I kind of felt like that was a good pick for them, too. But he hasn't really proven himself against adult-age players yet. Not that he can or he won't, because there's a lot of kids that, in the Canadian leagues that play against 16, 17-year-olds and they become Hall of Famers. But I think that watching Kravtsov do what he did against, 25, 27, 28-year-old defensemen and forwards, that really impressed me a lot. And even though the only reason why I didn't have him in my top 10, I think I had him at 13 or 15, was because of the fear I had that there'd be a letdown, like a sophomore slump, and I wonder how he was going to respond from that, because it's very tough to do what you do in the KHL as a rookie and then repeat that, because your expectations are a lot different. It's just like anything in life. When you're first time doing it, you're not as complacent. You're more hungry. The second time around, you might get a little complacent. So I'm a little bit guarded. I'm like, well, he's still got to work on his, defensive zone play and his understanding the game, I guess, in terms of his positioning. But in terms of dynamic puck skills, he's like a middle stat. He's like that guy that just, when he has the puck, he takes over the shift. So, people like to bring up Buchnevich. I see Kravtsov a far more engaged player than Buchnevich. Buchnevich is kind of aloof sometimes, he's
aloof all the time.
Yeah, but he's highly talented. He's highly talented, and that's the thing.
Well, so let's stop on Buchnevich for a second, okay? I got you here. Buchnevich is a real hot topic around here on this show because we got people love him. Yeah, you know how it goes. People are all over the place with him. To me, you talked last week. I listened to the show. Great show. You guys were great. Joe Catroni was even good, which really surprised me. I'm only kidding, Joe. But seriously, you talked about a guy. The Rangers need a player that people want to go out and buy their jerseys. They need that impact player. I don't think Pavel Buchnevich is ever going to be that player.
Probably not.
I think he's a good talent, but he doesn't. I don't know. I'm a little bit down on him. I thought he'd be more of a goal scorer, but maybe that was just my misperception of him. He gets the assists. He's got good hockey sense, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's.
Here's the problem. He basically, to me, and you guys might agree with me because you could go back and you could definitely remember the references. He's like Kovalev in those first couple of years where you knew something was there and you just wanted more and you wanted more. Now, the people that are in the pro Buchnevich camp, and I guess you could say I'm one of them, are kind of pointing the finger at Vigneault and saying this idiot didn't know how to really manage his lines. He favored veterans. He didn't know how to really utilize the guy.
Didn't he play in the World Cup or something? One of those tournaments? He got one. He was playing 6 minutes there, too. With every coach, is it Buchnevich or is it the coaches? I was going to blame this ref on AV. I'm surprised the rest of the... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say David Quinn is a guy that kind of demands, he holds players accountable. So I think that effort is one of the big ones.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt because I'm so hyped up. I had a couple weeks off. But if
it's fine.
If Quinn benches Buchnevich, Ranger Nation is going to fly off the handle. Because when AV did it for one game, and then Buchnevich came back and actually woke up for a few games, it was like, how dare they? How dare he bench Pavel? You got to be kidding me. They treat him like he's Tarasenko.
The thing is about Buchnevich, though, is that if you break down the numbers, right? Let's say you're living back in the city in 1987 and you got to listen to the games on the radio, and all you really got is stats to look at. He does produce in limited time, and that's the thing is if you produce it at even strength, anyone can produce on the power play. If you could produce at even strength with limited ice time, third or fourth line minutes, then that means probably like one of two things. Either you're really good in a reduced role, and you're probably not good enough, or you won't produce that way against, with more responsibility because you'll face tougher matchups, or the coach is misusing you and that you're deserving of a longer look on a first line because if you average, let's say, half a point, a game during the season playing third line minutes, then you might average a point a game if you played first line minutes. I mean, that's kind of like the rub, the argument between the analytics community and the traditional type of stats people. But I think that I kind of agree, like, okay, the Quinn thing has to be his last shot, because I think that the upside with Buchnevich is high, plus the fact that having a guy like Kravtsov who does play, either guy could play the off wing or their strong side. Some people are like, well, it's good as you give a fellow Russian who Buchnevich will make him happy. But then when I hear that, I always say, what if they don't like each other? Just because they're Russians, they'll like each other.
Because you speak the
I
same
could go to
language.
Russia, meet an American, and be like, that guy's a jerk. I want nothing to do with him.
Right.
But you have to give him a shot.
I speak the same language with a lot of people. I hate them.
I mean, listen. The Russian thing, I think the Russian thing helps, but overall, in terms of Kravtsov, I think that if he reaches his maximum potential, if it's a home run pick, if he basically does what Filipino did last year, and you see that kind of progression, then I would say that Kravtsov will be that first 30-goal scorer that we've had since Peter Pruka.
Right. I feel better.
Yeah. He basically saved the whole draft, to be honest with you. To me, in my opinion, Kravtsov saved the entire draft. All the other 9 picks or 8 picks could turn out to be bums. If Kravtsov becomes what he becomes, then you've done your job. Then basically you could validate all the hard work that you've done, because you've basically given the fan base and you've given the organization a gem. So that's why, my grade, I gave him a D because of just the mindset, right? This like old way of thinking. This like it seems like they didn't really have a coherent strategy. They just went there. They had an idea in mind which guys they wanted to take, and they just took them. But if all that aside, to me, Kravtsov was the real gem. So if you're a Ranger fan, you're upset like I am, you have to slowly, divorce yourself from the other picks and don't even think about them. Lundqvist, the defenseman, he's got a couple of years left. I know they say that he was doing so well in the Swedish league against adult men. I watched the kid play. He's got a lot. Listen, Sweden's a no-hit league, okay? What happens when he plays Winnipeg? How is he going to react to Winnipeg when he's got, Blake Wheeler barreling down on him? It's a just completely different situation. Whereas Russia, the game's a lot more physical. So a kid like Kravtsov playing against men, to me, means a lot more than what Lundqvist did against men. He's got skill, but to me, like everybody else that they picked, I really could care less about right now. I'm going to focus on the stud, and that's Kravtsov.
Well, I mean, they go? I mean, I know they have an organizational problem with defensemen. They've had it for a long time. But you think they went a little bit overboard with these defensemen?
They did. Well, the thing is look what they did at the deadline. They got 3 quality two-way defensemen, guys that are good on defense, right? But they could skate. Rykov, Lindgren, and Hayek. These are phenomenal players, really. The only reason why Rykov didn't go higher in the draft was because of the Russia KHL contract thing. So I'm thinking like, okay, great. They got the lefties. The left side, if you want to, do that type of thing and put it down on paper, the left side, you could even throw Brady Shay in there. You could say the left side is locked down. They got 4 elite, well, not elite, but 4 real solid prospects. So you got to figure at least 2 of them are going to turn into top 4 guys, one of them being Shay, who already is one. So then we could attack the right side now, and that's just the way the game is nowadays. You got to do the matching. And when they kept on drafting left defensemen that are basically the same kind of players that they acquired at the deadline, including Miller, I'm thinking like, you know what? It's a huge indictment of what they did in 2016 by taking a lefty Sean Day and a lefty Tuomo Ruunanen with their first 2 picks. So what you've basically done is you basically said, because we're unhappy with the way those kids developed, and because we boloed the 2014 and the 2015 draft, they just cut the Russian kid Zborovsky.
Yeah,
we have to go at it again. We have to go at it again. So Sean Day and Tuomo Ruunanen, God bless you, but they got knocked really down on the depth chart. It would take monster year at the AHL next year for Sean Day to be what Gordy Clark told us would be on draft day. Remember when he said, he's just his skill is skating. We think he has elite upside. He skates like Paul Coffey. All this nonsense. But people that watched one day were like, the kid
more like
he's
Paul
got
Lynn.
a 10-cent head. Yeah, he's got a 10-cent head. He doesn't think the game at a high level. So now we're hoping that Ty Ronning, the 7th round pick from 2016, is going to be the crown jewel of the 2016 draft. I mean, that's pretty sad that you got to rely on a 7th round to do that. So
he skates like Mr. Coffee. Short imagine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. It's very frustrating. It just seems like, it's cut bait with those guys and just said, all right, you're done. You didn't work out, so we're going right back, and we're going to try to correct the mistakes. And I don't know.
But here's the thing. Another thing I was thinking about was, every year they always try to be like Q and go against the grain and go against conventional wisdom and go off the board, and we had the sky rank high. And I'm thinking, like, you know what? You got one cup in 80 years. So you'd think that one year they'd say, you know what? We're just going to listen to what everybody else says. We'll do our scouting. We'll do our due diligence. But if everybody else says that this kid is the number 4, number 5 player or the number 25 and number 30 player, then we've been wrong so many times. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens. Because how many teams have blown drafts before? The Rangers do it all the time, where they say, I picked 11 kids and none of them pan out. So this was the year where I was hoping, and I said a prayer. I was really, really excited about this draft, where I was hoping the Rangers for once didn't overthink it and just said, you know what? A lot of these kids are good, but there's so much skill and speed on the table right now that I'm willing to take a chance. And with all due respect to Keandre Miller, they say he's a converted forward and he could skate, and he can skate. He has shown flashes that he can make plays. But that's the thing, they're flashes. You don't get it consistently. And what you're doing is you're banking on this kid eventually waking up one day and saying, you know what, he's going to become that number 1 defenseman. Listen, to me, if you can't run a power play, then you're not a number 1 defenseman. I'm sorry. Chris Pronger wasn't an elite playmaker, but he ran a power play. Why? He had a cannon of a shot. He was a smart guy. He knew how to skate. He knew how to avoid traffic. He made accurate home run passes. Keandre Miller does not run the power play. He wasn't even on the power play for the national team program. And when he goes to Wisconsin, he's not going to be playing on the power play. They got guys for that. So you're basically telling the fan base, we got this guy, and he's got a lot of skill. When is that skill going to come out? At 5-on-5? How is he going to be scoring 50, 60 points a year, which is what this organization needs? How is he going to do that if the kid never plays in the power play? You're not going to win an North Trophy if you don't play in the power play.
Well, let me counter that. No, let's take Brady Shay. When he was in college, I didn't hear much about his offense. He really wasn't, I don't think, drafted because of his offense. I mean, listen, I could be wrong. I remember him, he was a good skater. You heard this. Now, he certainly is not a number 1 power play guy, but he could be a number 2 power play guy. I mean, he certainly got that kind of skill. Do you think maybe they're kind of hoping that this materializes out of this guy, or can that kind of development happen? But
yes, and I'm glad you brought up Brady Shay. I'm glad you brought him up because he was drafted in the 2012 draft, which was a draft that was deep with defensemen. So, and if you watch Brady Shay play when he was on the NTDP, to me, he reminded me a lot of Brett Hedican, though. Like Brett Hedican, if you remember him with the Vancouver and the Cup, and also when he was at St. Louis and Carolina, is the guy had wheels, right? But he never really put it together to become that elite number 1 defenseman, that guy that you basically said, all right, we're playing the Rangers tomorrow, or we're playing, whatever team. We got to stop Brett Hedican. And as much as I love Brady Shay, I don't really see him becoming that guy. I used to think that he might be might be the next McDonough, but like his hockey sense to me is a big concern. So, but you look at what the Rangers did is they swung for the fences with a 28th, 29th overall pick in 2012, the year that they won 50 games. That's the perfect pick for a team that just won 50 games. Keandre Miller is not the perfect pick to trade up for and to lose a 2nd-round pick. It's not the perfect pick when you're a non-playoff team with the worst defense in the league. Okay, you need players that, but the thing about Miller is they already have guys like him. To me, Libor Hayek is way more advanced than Keandre Miller. Libor Hayek has the same upside offensively as Keandre Miller, but in terms of defense, he blows them away. I mean, in terms of one-on-one positioning, the NTDP, listen, this year was rough on them. The coach They said the coach had issues with managing the defense, and it really hurt them. Normally the program prides itself on defense and keeping goals against to a minimum. They had some issues this year. A lot of them said it was the coaching philosophy. But Miller, who improved throughout the season, he wasn't always that guy that was out on the ice to be the stopper, whereas Brady Shay was that guy with the NTDP. He was that guy at Minnesota. Is Miller going to become that guy at Wisconsin? I don't know. But, again, I like the kid. I think he's going to have a good, solid NHL career. I think his upside is a top pairing guy, is a support guy, or maybe anchor or number 2 pairing. It was the fact that they felt like he was so unique and so special that they had to move up. Because Minnesota, I think, was going to grab him. If you look at the defenseman that Minnesota took, Philip Johansson, it was a horrible pick, by the way. He's a nice kid, I'm sure, but very, very...
he's a nice kid.
Kind of, very bland.
Anytime you preface with he's a nice kid is the first thing,
Right.
No, he was an overdraft.
That's she's got a great personality of draft picks.
Yeah.
He's got a great personality.
But no, so I think Minnesota, the Rangers knew, or maybe they felt like because Miller is a Minnesota kid and that the Wild probably through channels or whatever, they might have learned that the Wild were heavily scouting defense, or maybe they just kept seeing Wild scouts at the same games that they were going to, whatever. That's why I think they made the move. And maybe, to Ottawa's credit, Ottawa's like, dude, you must really love this kid because you are not getting him without giving us a second-round pick back. And remember, Ottawa traded the Rangers a second-round pick in the Zibanejad deal for, Brendan Smith, which was the 33rd overall pick. So maybe Ottawa said, we want to get that pick back from them, albeit a little bit lower. And so I think Gordon and Drury and Clark were basically saying, we have to have this kid. We basically stole a second-round pick from the Devils for Grabner. He's probably going to re-sign with the team anyway. We got recalled out of the deal, so let's just roll the dice and do it. Sometimes I don't mind that aggressiveness, but it's the Rangers, man. It's one of the most, most.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
We know. I was going to ask you. Say they traded. Say we go back in the time machine. They've traded up to the number 22 position. You're the GM. Who are you taking at 22?
Rasmus Sandin. Absolutely. Swedish kid. The funny thing about this is why I question what the Rangers are doing is because Rasmus Sandin was a Swedish kid that played at the Ivan Holinka tournament in the summertime in August, and he was supposed to play for Rögle in the Swedish league. And then at the last minute, he decided to come over to North America. And when I watched him at the Holinka, I said, man, this kid's pretty good. Obviously, you're looking at Boqvist and you're looking at, Yinning and Johansson. But I'm like, man, this Sandin kid's really good. And he was partnered with Boqvist, and he was letting Boqvist do all the rushing. But you saw glimpses of, you know what, I think this guy Sandin's got skill. He's just doing the right thing by letting his partner do all the fancy stuff. So he leaves Sweden and goes over to North America to play for Sault Ste. Marie. The Rangers have a draft pick from Sault Ste. Marie and Tim Gettinger. So at a minimum, you'd like to think that they've seen this kid play, that they've seen this kid, what he did, unless the Rangers stop scouting Gettinger because they figured out, you know what, he's an overager, he's in his fifth year in the league, he's got no future with our team, so we'll just let him play. But anyone that you talk to that watched Sault Ste. Marie, if anyone who followed the OHL, they were a machine this year. 55, 56 wins out of like 67 games. They were basically a lock to go to the Memorial Cup. Obviously, they got upset and it didn't happen. And they are loaded with elite NHL prospects, guys that were draft prospects, guys that were prospects from other teams. And
Phil
they have
Esposito,
two defensemen.
Right? He's on that team. Phil Esposito.
That's where he's from, I think.
I know. I'm only kidding. Phil Esposito, I said.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was from. He was on.
Yeah, but anyway, so now they have two defensemen on that team. Matt Hollowell, who got drafted this year as a double overager, he was a veteran guy, 21, 20 years old, so he was running things. And then Connor Timmins, a Colorado draft pick, who was a stud. And by I would say the three-quarter mark of the season, and even in the playoffs, Sandin was their best defenseman. He was running the power play. This is a Swedish kid, 17 years old, came to North America, and by season's end, he's running the power play for the best team in the Canadian Hockey League. And you watch some of the moves that he makes, his play with the puck, not a big guy, but he could skate, his vision, his creativity. And I'm like, you know what, man, this is what the Rangers need. This is exactly what the Rangers need. And I had him ranked 13th. So I felt between Bodie Wild, who's a guy that, a teammate of Miller's. He's also a similar type of excitable defenseman, albeit he's got some issues on defense. When they traded up to 22, I'm like, oh, man, they got to be going for either the German winger Boak or Rasmus Sandin. I said they've watched Sandin. They've scouted him because of Gettinger. And when they said Miller, and I really got upset. And I feel bad for Miller because I really like the kid. I've said so many nice things about him. But to me, in terms of NHL readiness, maturity, one-on-one defense, speed, creativity, vision, hockey sense, understanding the position of defense, which the Rangers apparently had no one that did this past season. To me, he was that pick at 22. And then the Leafs, Dubas, the new GM, he ran through St. Marie for years. And what does he do? He probably trades down after seeing the Rangers take Miller, and he sees the Wild take Johansson, and he's like, you know what? These guys are idiots. They literally let a more talented defenseman slip away, and they got their guy. And that's what I want the Rangers to do. I want them to do what the Leafs did, is trade down and still get your guy. Why don't the Rangers do that? The Rangers always trade up and get their guy, the guy that nobody else thinks should be their guy. So
the guy that nobody else wants.
Yeah, pretty much. Although, listen,
the Rangers never
back in 2010, they said that, Dallas was in on Dylan McIlrath, and Anaheim was going to draft Dylan McIlrath, and we had to take him. And,
nobody was drafting
if these guys played poker, they'd lose every time. Yeah. These guys, not just with drafts, but with trades too. It just seems like every other team takes advantage of them. And listen, I'm looking at it from a fan standpoint, but I've been a fan for almost 40 years. So, this isn't new. This isn't something new that just happened in the last couple of years. This has been going on within the organization for so long. And the last thing I'll say is, you look at the one cup that they have won since 1940, and the reason why they won that cup was because of Craig Patrick's drafts and Neil Smith's drafts. Yeah, they had to trade away a lot of those players, but they drafted players that had a ton of skill. Tomas Sandstrom, Tony Granato, Ulf Dahlin. You could even say Kevin Miller for Joey Kosa, Zubov, Amonte, Doug Waite. These are all skilled guys, and other teams love that skill. They don't want, reliable guys. Who did they trade to get Steve Larmer? They traded Darren Turcotte, a skilled forward, James Patrick, a skilled defenseman. That's what other teams want. They want that skill. They want point production. So, to me, it's odd that Gorton, and I won't even count Sater because he's basically a relic, but, Gorton, if he really wants to win with this organization, he's got to see how the only winner was ever built. And that was through Neil Smith's drafts, through Craig Patrick's drafts, develop a huge stockpile of elite skilled players that other teams want. And I hate to break it to Ranger fans, but after what they did this weekend, I don't see teams in 2 or 3 years knocking down their door saying, give me, Nils Lundqvist, or give me, Joey Keane, or give me, the scout's son.
I don't want him now. I don't even want him on our team now. No one for the future. Some other team's going to want him. I mean, I see it. You want to get skilled. That's what I'm saying. Two forwards after the first round. Only two forwards.
Ask yourself this: was Gordy Clark a skilled player when he played? Nope.
No.
Was Steve Yzerman a skilled player when he played? Look at the plays that Steve Yzerman goes for. Look at the plays that Joe Sakic goes for. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's just the way that I look at it. It's who's making the decision ultimately? Is it Gordy Clark? Is it Gordon? Is it Sather? Who knows? Is Sather the guy that's literally saying, nope, even though I'm the guy up in the ivory tower, I still want final say on everything? So, again, this was supposed to be their version, this generation of fans, this was supposed to be our 1990 draft, our draft that Neil Smith had in 1990 that literally was one of the best drafts in team history, which was, Zubov, Nemchinov, and Doug Waite in one draft. That was supposed to be the draft that you're like, you know what? I have three guys that will one day be a part of a Stanley Cup champion, or at least help me become a Stanley Cup champion. And I don't know. And the thing is, we haven't even talked about the goalie.
Well, that's
we haven't even talked
where
about
I want to get in here. I want to get in here on the goalie because I got a few things I got to get off my chest here. And they all pertain to this second-round pick of Olaf Lindblom. You know, when the Rangers accumulated these 3 first-round picks, and everybody was talking to they talked to Gorton, and he keeps saying, you know, don't forget we have second-round picks too, and we have third-round picks. So you know we're going to find a lot of players there too. And they go ahead and they trade the other second-round pick to move up in the first round for a guy that nobody was clamoring for to begin with. And then they draft a goaltender that nobody had on their board, apparently. I mean, nobody rated this guy very high. They don't, you know, they trade away the other second-round pick. All they have to show for the second round is a goaltender that nobody else wanted. It wasn't like it started a run on goaltenders. I don't think there was another goaltender picked for about another 10 or 15 picks after that. And then a couple of goalies went. This just made absolutely no sense. This was just, to me, I don't know what made less sense, the fact that they picked 47 defensemen over the weekend or picking a goaltender in the second round. I mean, you've got Henrik Lundqvist for another couple of years. You got Shesterkin supposedly on the way someday. They've got other goaltenders that have shown an ability to play. I don't understand. This wasn't a guy. I felt like this was a guy they probably could have gotten the 4th round if they really wanted this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, was this? I'm wondering how much of this was Benoit Allaire saying I can work with this guy and I can make magic just like I did 15 years ago. I don't know, but this one was.
Well, here's
really,
the thing. You know, a lot of Ranger fans are like Gordy Clark when he said that. I wanted to kick in my TV screen how Benoit Allaire was saying how great this kid was because Benoit Allaire turned. You know, Cam Talbot, who was a free agent signing, into one of the best backups, really probably the best backup that Lundqvist ever had. And now he's a number 1. You know, Antti Raanta was fantastic for the Rangers a couple of years ago, and he was really good for Arizona last year. So if this guy's such a goalie magician, why is it like these kids are 17, 18 years old? What did that 17, 18-year-old say to you in an interview or that you saw on film? What did he do that literally blew away everybody else? Now, I'm not going to question Benoit Allaire's eye for talent at all. My question is this. If Benoit Allaire said, hello?
Yeah, keep going. I was about to jump in, but I'm holding myself back.
Go ahead. I would say if all Benoit Allaire does is, and remember, it's kind of like a cook telling a general, no, you need to move 10 divisions to the left flank. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that doesn't happen. All Benoit Allaire does is goes up, what he should do is say, we've done all our research, we've done all our video sessions, we've done all our scouting. These are our 10 best goalies from 1 to 10. This guy, Lindblom, is a stud. He's a stallion. He's going to be the next Lundqvist. You've got to draft him. If he does that, then it's up to Gorton, and it's really up to Gorton and Clark to understand the market and say, okay, we have this goalie. Even if Allaire said everybody else sucks except for this kid, you know, like you have to assess the market and say, okay, goalies really don't go until like, you know, the middle to late second, third, fourth, whatever. But this is the guy that we want. Maybe we could trade down from, let's say, if we could go to a team that doesn't have a second-round pick, like maybe the Devils or some other team, and say, hey, you don't have a second-round pick, and we got 2 of them, or, you know, we have 1 of them. You know, let's knock it down a little bit. Let's go to the early 3rd round, and let's roll the dice and see what happens. That's the problem with these guys. They don't roll the dice. So I agree with you 100%. The issue isn't really
anxious. It was almost like they were like, it's almost like they had too much time to think about these picks. And it was like, listen, this is the goalie I want. We got to get him in the second round. This is it. This is the only goalie we're taking. We've got to get him as soon as possible. We love him. But, again, like you said, not knowing the market, not knowing that this guy will be around in the 3rd round, could even be around in the 4th round. So now
and the other question is, why would you even like, if you love this kid so much, who did they love more? Who was more essential to the draft? Was it Lindbaum or was it Miller? Because those were the two guys that they really went off the board. I don't want to say they went off the board for Miller as much, but the fact that they, how costly he was and how they went about acquiring him is you could say that they really, really loved him and they kind of went out of their way to get him.
Right.
Same thing with Lindbaum. So I'm wondering,
they invested a lot in those two picks. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And the thing is this: even with a guy like that they drafted, Ragnarsson, who his dad played in the NHL. It seems like the Rangers love kids whose dads played in the NHL.
They love pedigree.
Nepotism.
They love pedigree.
They love pedigree.
Yeah, they love pedigree. So, and I watched him play too this year. He's pretty good. He's got potential. He's a good, I would say, third, fourth, even fifth round pick. But who was picked between Ragnarsson and Keane? Between, what was it, 70 and 80 or whatever the picks were, those players, just look out. Just pray. Cross your fingers. Because all those players picked between them, Blake McLaughlin, Jakub Lauko, these are dynamic players. These guys are the best forwards on their teams. They're the go-to guys. They're the breakaway threats. They're really amazing, phenomenal kids. And so passing on them to get the defenseman that you really loved, in addition to all the other defensemen that you drafted, in addition to all the other defensemen that you acquired at the deadline. And then the other thing is this, is where does, Neil Pionk, right? That guy had a phenomenal cup of coffee. Now, granted, we don't know what that's going to become. I think the numbers indicate that he can become a lot more. I'm not going to call him, the next Zubov. I'm not going to call him the next Tom Poti. I think he is what he is. He's a very talented finesse defenseman who made the most out of a lot of defensive zone time. And plus, being paired with Mark Stahl definitely didn't help. And the fact that he was able to put up points with that guy, anchoring him down, means that he might become something special. What's going to happen is it's going to create a logjam. All these defensemen that they have is going to create a logjam, and they can only offer so many contracts. And a lot of these kids, they're either going to stay in Europe and never come over here, or they're going to basically be reduced to a depth role in Hartford and never really get the opportunity to play the way that they're supposed to be playing, or be utilized the way they're supposed to be utilized.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Sling load and they're gone. And that's the problem that I have when you focus on one position, just like what Montreal did with centers, is why would you're going to create such a backlog that a kid that you drafted in the third or fourth round who has a lot of talent, by the time he gets to the AHL, it might not even be the kid's fault. He might perform amazingly, but there's just no room. Dude, if we have 8 people that are all performing the same way, I'm sorry, man, you got to go to the fourth line and be a checker. And someone might get hurt though. One day you'll come up and you'll be a second line guy, but that never happens. And that kid ends up going to the ECHL and eventually Europe or whatever. So again, I don't like reactionary drafting. I thought the Rangers completely looked at the tape from this past regular season and said we got to fix our defense, but you're not going to fix it with really this draft immediately. This draft, you're not going to really be able to bear its fruits for another couple of years. So just an odd draft. Really, to me, the players are okay. The strategy was, incredibly faulty. It was terrible.
Yeah. Now I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you have anything to add on Joey Keane or Nico Gross or Simon.
I can. Yeah.
Schmiedeberg, but I definitely want to hear about Lauri Pajuniemi. I don't know.
Pajuniemi.
Because I did hear some good things about him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had him as a kid that they should have drafted, not the Rangers, but he was a kid that I had ranked in the 170. So I had him as a kid that should have been drafted last year, and they didn't. Not they, the Rangers, meaning the league. I got a chance to see him up close and personal at an international tournament in Michigan. And first thing that you notice is obviously his speed. He's a winger. He's pretty fast. Could play a little bit of center. But the thing that you really, I guess, his overall game is just his skating and scoring. I mean, he's a good open ice player. I like. Here's what bothers me about that pick. Is there were a lot of kids like him in this draft, And, a lot of kids that were like a year younger than he was, a lot of kids that just as fast but maybe more defensively capable, kids that were, just as fast but had a better wrist shot, kids that were just as fast but, had a higher hockey sense or better creativity. The thing is that bothered me about the Panjaniemi pick is that he plays with Patrick Verda, their 7th round or 6th round pick from last year. So it's almost like they were lazy. Like they went and they scouted and they said, well, we scouted the entire continent of Europe and the entire continent of North America, and we've assessed that the kid that just happens to play on the same line or the same team as the guy we drafted last year, he's the best player for this position. It's like they do that a lot. They do that they love players that play with players that they previously drafted. Now, it goes against what I said about Sandin, because if that was the case, they would have drafted Sandin because he plays with Gettinger. But I wondered why, I get it. I think his ceiling is okay. I really don't know what he'll become. Yeah, they need help on the wing in Hartford and at the NHL level. But at the same time, he's a 6th round pick. Or 5th round pick, I think. So you have to kind of cross your fingers with him. But I like him, though. I'm not going to say that he's a waste of a pick. I definitely think that they left some other kids on the board. This kid Alex Steves that played in the USHL is a power winger, scores a ton of goals, a lot of them at even strength. Really just like a typical Ranger player to me. And, they opted to go for, I guess, the guy that they – was convenient for them, it sounds like.
Yeah. What about Nico Gross?
Well, Gross is an interesting thing. He was in my first round to start the season. And if you watched him play on the Swiss national teams and watched him play in the Swiss Elite Junior A League, also a little bit of the few times he played with the Elite League that they have there, the NLA, he's really good. He's sound. He was capable. He's smart. More of a mobile, I guess, defensive defenseman. He's kind of like a Rykov type where he could skate. He's got a pretty hard shot, but you're just not going to get a whole lot of creativity out of him. Most of his points will come from point shots or, maybe a breakout pass here or there, but you're never going to see him go end to end and, kind of draw people towards him and then do a nice little behind the back or through the legs type of pass. He's not that kind of player. His strength, though, really was his defensive play, his quick feet, his ability to smother puck rushers. If there's a one-on-one, he maintains a tight gap and he keeps as a pretty active stick. Stands up at the blue line, so he basically is tough to get around. And he decided to go to Oshawa to play in the Ontario League. And I don't know what was going on in Switzerland, but the minute he got to Oshawa, it was just downhill. He became completely unreliable. He became the offense wasn't even there. He's really struggled, and it was tough for me to watch because I'm like, man, what? I looked at all my notes. I'm like, am I stupid? Did I watch the wrong player? Did I get the right number? Because you watched him play, and he was so poised, really poised under a lot of pressure and a heavy forecheck when he was playing in Switzerland. And like I said, Oshawa was probably like, what the heck is going on with this kid? Now, this is where being a real scout and being, a fan blogger, analyst like me, where all I'm doing is watching film, and the scouts are the ones that really know everything about the kid. They talk to the coach and say, hey, what's going on with this dude? So I'm going to assume that the Rangers talked to his coaches and they talked to his family, maybe to see if anything was going on. I'm sure everything, checked out okay, and it was just maybe they're chalking it up as just a fluke, and they're looking at the fact that they might have gotten first-round or second-round quality in the later rounds, but the truth is he just did not play like a first rounder this year. He did maybe a couple years ago, but he didn't do it this year. So he's a lefty, though. So, again, he's that typical lefty mobile defenseman that could be a shutdown guy. You have Miller. You got Rykov. You got Lindgren. You got Hayek. Where does this kid fit? You know what I'm saying? And I think the Rangers might view it as well as law of averages. If we have 15 left defensemen, one of them's not going to turn out okay.
Right.
But I don't agree with that line of thinking at all. I never did. But like I said, I think look for him to bounce back. I think he's too good of a prospect. I think it might have been a North American thing where, going to a new culture and listen, Switzerland is a beautiful place to live and grow up. I'm sure going to, North America or Canada or wherever, Oshawa, where might have been a little bit of a culture shock. So, but at the same time, other Europeans have gone and done that same thing. Look at Nico Hischier. He went from Switzerland to Halifax and tore it up. So, I think Rangers, you got to give them, I guess, the benefit of the doubt that they did their due diligence. And I think these are kids just to keep an eye on it because the upside is still kind of high, but you're wondering what really went on this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just a change of the whole culture. Here's a guy that his game completely fell off a cliff after a change of scenery. So it could be just
does happen.
It does happen. So I wanted to ask you. Now you had to be really disappointed. You wanted that difference maker. Now you have said Kravtsov could be that guy. He's got that kind of talent. I mean, I don't know. I just was looking at some of the things, that I think you said on the last show that no matter who they took, fans were not going to like the pick, and obviously, people I really couldn't believe the backlash from even the first round pick. And I started the show. Thank God you calmed me down because I was flipping out. Because I really can't take the Rangers thinking that they know more when they are consistently wrong. I don't get it. So you gave the rating was a D. How much do you think of it as skewed because you're a Ranger fan and you had so much expectations, or this is just really a D? I mean, how are other
I'll clarify. That's a good question, and I'll clarify it. I know I went on the message boards today, and I kind of clarified it. The D was a little bit emotional, being the Ranger fan and having those high expectations. The D is not really for the players themselves. It's for the guys in the suits and how they approach this draft, the moves that they made. You could just tell that the mentality was pervasive. It was like all the guys got in the room together and, hey, listen, if there's a whistleblower, you could call me up and tell me what really went on. My wife will bake you some great cookies, and I'll never reveal your identity. But it looks like they all agreed on this, and I'm wondering if there was one guy that's like, wait a minute. We're going to pass over this player A or player B or, the Rangers always say that they go for the best player available, the impact player. They left so much skill on the table at this draft that you have to wonder what their definition of skill is versus what the conventional definition of skill is. To me, and even if you talk to a lot of the central scouting guys, you talk to other scouts, you talk to other coaches, whatever, that a lot of skill has to do with hockey sense, right? Like the smart, the ability to turn something out of nothing, right? Gretzky was obviously the greatest example of that, where every time that player's on the ice, they're like, all right, here he goes. And a lot of this draft, all the radio appearances I did during the year, I said that this draft is special more than other drafts, recent drafts, because a lot of these 17-year-olds are the best players on their team. They're the go-to guys. They're the guys that the other 19 and 20-year-olds are like, I mean, this kid's special. Like, what are we going to do? I can't complain about my ice time. He's a better player than I am. And the players that they drafted, that wasn't the case. Kravtsov is a different situation, and even Lundqvist because they played with men. But the other guys, you really can't say that about them. Maybe Joey Keane, but he was an overager, and Barry didn't really have that go-to defenseman. I thought Keane was very good with them this year, but, K'Andre Miller wasn't – you could say that he was maybe like the third best defenseman on the NTDP this year in terms of how he was deployed. He wasn't always the guy out there late in games. It was Mattias Samuelsson, or it was Ty Emberson, or it was even Adam Samuelsson, or sometimes even Bodie Wild. So that's what the problem that I have overall. So the D is for just that mentality like, well, we think we know what skill is, but our definition is probably a lot different than everybody else's. I think from an upside standpoint, in terms of what these players can become, you got a lot of middle pairing guys. You got a lot of, maybe depth wingers, top 9 at best types. outside of Kravtsov, of course. And I think maybe if all the stars align and Lundqvist, puts on some weight and he just gets used to the physicality of the game, then you could have a player that, he'll be like a Pionk, you know what I mean? Well, he'll rush the puck, he'll do some excitable plays, but probably won't be getting votes for the Norris Trophy anytime soon. The problem again is that this draft had players like that. They had Noah Dobson, they had Quinn Hughes, they had Adam Boqvist, they had Rasmus Sandin, and like I said, they felt like goal scoring was the way to go with Kravtsov. I agree mostly with that pick, but everything else after that, I really had a tough time with.
Okay, well, we got pretty much the scoop with the Rangers. Just quick notes on the rivals there. How do you think the Islanders did, and how do you think the Devils did?
The Islanders had the best draft of any team. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm definitely not an Islander fan. I'm the farthest thing from it.
Let's put a dagger in my heart.
The Islanders, and listen, people could say all they want whether Lou had a hand in this or not. Even if Lou stayed locked in a closet and let everybody else do all the hard work, it's still Lou Lamoriello. The guy, for whatever reason, when he goes to an organization, they improve. It's just how it is. They improve and they stay good for a while. The guy's a Hall of Famer for a reason, okay? He's never really had a really bad period. I think what happened with the Devils with Kovalchuk kind of hurt him a little bit, and he really put all his eggs. That was a move I think he probably regrets. But other than that, you look at what his role, his impact with the Maple Leafs, and also his role and impact, of course, with the Devils. We all know about that. The Islanders just did a phenomenal job because they took elite skill. They took those plays that I talked about, the guys that you're like, he's got the puck, watch out. All right, yeah, he might turn it over, but he's not going to do it twice. If he does it twice, he's not going to do it 3 times. And so with that, getting Wahlstrom, I think hurts the Rangers a lot. But the thing to get Dobson as well, to get the guy that had the Monster Memorial Cup and carried a really underrated Acadie Bathurst team to win the Memorial Cup and make the All Memorial Cup team. It wasn't like it was a flash in the pan tournament. He played like that all season, and he's good defensively, and he could skate. He's agile. He can run a power play. And, of course, Wahlstrom, we all know, has 40-goal potential. So to get those two guys right off the bat, I mean, that they could have ended it there, but they didn't. They went and they got my best goalie, Jakub Skarek, who the Czechs have been calling the heir apparent to Dominik Hasek, that he's going to be that next goalie. Obviously, he's still raw and he's got some developing to do, but, you get Skarek. You have that guy now that you could probably wait a couple of years, but he's played against elite league men for the last couple of years, so he's a lot closer than you think. And, of course, Bodie Wild. So the Islanders just hit it out of the park. I mean, it was just a great draft. They drafted the way I would have drafted it, and I think they drafted the way almost all the Rangers fans would have drafted. That's what hurts the most, I think. As far as the Devils go, they didn't really have a lot of picks. However, they got one guy, and Ty Smith, who was my 6th-ranked or 8th-ranked player on my board at 17. To me, I've always compared him to Drew Doughty. Yeah, there were times where he reminded me of Ray Bourque, and I'm not talking about, the physicality just yet, but Bourque wasn't a big guy, but he had like a low center of gravity, and he was really able to drive into people, and when Bourque used to battle against the boards, you just tell that he was wearing people down. And even at 5'11", 170 pounds, Smith could do that. But his biggest asset, obviously, is his skating and his playmaking. So the Devils, this is what you got to face with. You got to face with, Nico Hischier and Taylor Hall, and then, look who's running their points in the power play is Will Butcher and Ty Smith. Really a phenomenal player. And, some of the other players they got, listen, they didn't have a 2nd or 3rd round pick. They drafted, I think, a Finn. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who they had. But to me, the fact that both franchises were already ahead of the Rangers in terms of prospect depth, and now that they added that wrinkle, which is what the Rangers did not do. They did not add that possible franchise defenseman. I don't think anybody thinks Keon Jamil is going to become that. I think they see him becoming a good NHL defenseman, but you look at the upside when you put a guy like Ty Smith with those weapons, just like when he was in Spokane. and he was playing with Jared Anderson-Dolan and Kayla Yamamoto, it was magic. It was literally magic. Anyone that follows the WHL will tell you that. And then the Islanders, look, if they bring back Tavares, you're looking at two lines. Tavares on one of them, Barzal on the other one. Who is Wallstrom going to play with? That's the problem that the Islanders are facing right now if they sign Tavares is, well, who do we pair up Wallstrom with now? And so listen, Kravtsov and Hedl. Yeah, Kravtsov and Hedl could become our version of Barzal and Wallstrom. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Those are two players that I really like a lot. And I don't really fault the Rangers for taking Kravtsov at 9. I thought that was not really necessarily the right pick, but it's a good pick, and he was deserving of being picked at 8. It's just the fact that the guy that everybody wanted goes to the Islanders of all teams. So, just buckle up and cross your fingers.
I think what I'm gleaning from you, and this is what I think the summation is the Rangers really should have shot the moon with this draft.
Yes.
And instead, they played it safe. They played it, and then when they made safe choices, they made choices that they were not on the script. They were actually off the script and didn't follow convention with their safe picks. They went and kind of reached for their own safe picks, and they really should have just shot for the high-end talent. Screw the defensemen. They should have gone try to get all the forwards they can get in this organization and just really gone, berserk with that. And they did.
There's only one way. You're 100% right. And there's only one way that I will completely accept this draft, and I'll even issue an apology and a retraction. Is if the plan is to suck again this year, really bad, and sell off Hayes and sell off Zuccarello and focus on the 2019 draft, which is more deeper with centers and forwards, right? So this draft was big with wingers and defensemen, and let's say that they strategized and they said, you know what, long term, let's focus on defense in 2018.
You know what's going to happen?
If that's true, and they take Jack Hughes next year at first overall, or they take Capo Caco, or they take
I can't wait to even
love that guy's name.
I love his name already. I want him.
Yeah, it's a good draft of centers, and I know that the Rangers fans might see, we really don't need centers because we have, we have Hedl and Anderson, but Anderson can play wing. So, you get a guy like Jack Hughes, he changes the face of your franchise forever. But again, where does Dolan fit into this? Has he basically allowed, like he has with the Knicks, and said, listen, let's just suck. Let's just suck and do what we can. Your jobs are safe. Let's give it 3 years. If it's not turned around in 3 years, then you guys are, basically going to be walking the plank. But I doubt that happened. I think that you guys really thought that,
What I think is going to happen, this is my prediction, is that your prediction of them actually maybe having some kind of reasoning and sucking for next year too, and then getting used, and if that, I don't think they're capable of that kind of.
Yeah.
I think they're going to wind up getting Panarin, and they're going to throw the rebuild right out the window. And it's going to be like, we got to make the playoffs this year. And it's going to be totally, which, hey, listen, I'd take Artemi Panarin, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
And who knows? They may still suck with him. I mean, they need to improve that.
Another little thing that I thought about, that I forgot who brought it up. One of my fellow, angry, self-loathing, conspiracy theorist, Ranger fans, friends, that maybe Lundqvist went to them and said, if you don't,
I believe it already.
If you don't draft defense, I'm Tom Brady. I'm not retiring for another 8 years, and I'm going to be at the top of my game. I want you guys to. I mean, I doubt that happened, but it is a interesting thing to talk about. And they did take a lot of Swedes. They even took the scout's son.
What? Oh, now I throw in the towel.
Wait, you did? Yeah, the Schmiedeberg kid. His father is a Ranger scout.
Jim, take over this show.
Well, Steve Steve, I know you're getting ready to disappear until July or July and August. You said
we gotta have Steve back. I like commiserating with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
hopefully,
anytime,
Steve,
guys.
when you reemerge, you'll come back on with us before the season starts. And do you go to Traverse City? Do you go?
No, I was thinking about doing it this year. It's not far away. I drive to Michigan a lot. It's only about like 8 hours from 9 hours from Nashville, so it's not like impossible to go to. So I don't know. I thought about it this year, but I'm so angry still that I don't want to go there. And
not in the mood right now.
When I went to the U18, I went to the U18 Five Nations in Plymouth, and because Russia played there this year and Svechnikov was there, so basically in one tournament in Michigan, you had Wallstrom, Buquist, Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi. They were all there. So normally, like a lot of scouts go to these games, but at this tournament, every scout was there, and every GM was there, and I'm, a lot of my followers are scouts and front office types. Obviously, I doubt the range of people follow me, but maybe they know a thing or two about things that I've said. So, I'm walking around. I had a hat down low, sunglasses. I'm literally because I criticize pretty much everybody in that arena. I've criticized at one point or another, whether it be his players or his, a real funny story before I go. I went to a game there, and it was the under-17 team, which is basically the kids that are going to be, for next year's draft, playing against Chicago in the playoffs, in the USHL playoffs. And the arena was dead. There was like 14 people in there, but Doug Waite and Brian Ralston were there because their sons play for the U17 team. And, so I'm walking around and I want to get a soda, and I had to keep passing by every time where Doug Waite was sitting, and he looked like really, really stressed. He looked really, really stressed out. And this was right after, I think, it might have been right before Lou got, but, Lou got, obviously it was before Lou got brought on, but he just looked really stressed out. Like he looked like a guy that knew that something was going on.
I love it.
And then Brian Ralston, this is the funny thing, is Brian Ralston was sitting, like a couple of seats away, but they weren't talking to each other. And I think there was a point where they walked by each other and didn't even look and acknowledge each other. I'm like, these guys played on Team USA together. They went to the same college. They went to Lake Superior State. They were, only a year apart. They played in the NHL. I'm like, so I was thinking, like, what's going on between Ralston and Waite. Anyway, I don't know if I'll go to Traverse City this year. If I do go, I mean, man, I don't know. I'll wear like a Groucho Marx, those glasses.
The glasses.
Yeah, like Ichiro in the dugout last week.
Yeah, I saw that. That's funny. Yeah, but no, I mean, I'm gonna still be on the grid. If you guys are doing any prospect-related podcasts or something comes up, a trade, and you want me to come hop on, it'll just shoot me a text. It's no problem.
All right, Steve.
We appreciate you down, Steve.
Absolutely.
Oh, anytime,
absolutely.
Guys, anytime.
We appreciate it. Enjoy your summer, and
yes,
and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Likewise. Great talk. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Thanks,
Take
Steve.
care,
Anytime. Follow Steve at The Draft Analyst, and check out his website, thedraftanalyst.com. Do I have that right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Steve. Take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Man. He was throwing out names there. That guy for next year. What was that guy's name? Coco Beware? What was that guy?
Kokomo, Indiana.
I don't know what that guy.
Coca-Pelli?
I don't know what that. I was like, I want that guy. Let's go. Let's be Kaka for Coco.
There you go. There's your hashtag. Hashtag Kaka for Coco.
Yeah, let's be Kaka. Capo Caco.
That'll be in Steve Zippay's column on MySpace or wherever he's writing nowadays. That'll be his. He'll steal that from you tomorrow.
Oh man! I hope we're all wrong. I just hope, I mean, a lot could happen in a couple of years, but I have to agree with him, and I have to agree with you as well. It seems like the strategy for this draft was just so screwy. Why did they do this? It's like they're stuck. It's like they're stuck. I thought with Gorton it was going to be different. The guy has drafted some good guys in the past with the Bruins. It's just too many defensemen. And like Steve said, you can only keep a certain amount of these guys in the contract. So they're going to have to cut bait with guys they drafted last year and the year before that. Or guys that are playing now. I mean, listen, not the Rob O'Gara is going to haunt me if they release him. But I'm just saying, it just seems like they got this. The cupboard is like completely full of defensemen. All will play the same side.
Yeah. It was just. I felt like, I don't know. I just really felt like they had to hit 3 home runs in that first round, and they didn't. Yeah. And I just felt like, they didn't draft like a team that was at the beginning of a rebuild. They drafted like a team that is in contention, and just wanted to fill the pipeline with whatever they could get. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like they felt like they had to hit home runs. Like they were happy with singles and a couple of bunts. I hope 3 years from now we're wrong and they're all superstars.
I hope so. I mean, but we just got to hope for the best. Maybe this, if Krasov is tremendous, we'll forget about the rest of the guys.
Right. But
but this organization does not inspire confidence. I mean, that's a basic Ranger fan. We have to accept this.
And they'll just never take the obvious choice. And I'm afraid, you talk about Jack Hughes, you talk about Crapo for Cockta, or whoever this guy's name is. If they got a lottery pick and they had the first pick overall, they draft some other schlub out of the KHL who had 5 goals in 4 playoff games and made all their pants shrink. And then we'd have to have Steve back on next year to justify that pick, while the Islanders wound up with Jack Hughes and Crapo Carco or whatever his name is. Let me ask you this: before we are running short of time, and I know we had people that wanted to talk tonight, and I apologize. We had Steve for a lot longer than I thought we were going to get him tonight. So, I didn't want to pass. I didn't want to pass up that opportunity. Well, Steve originally said I can only do a half hour, and Steve was here for an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. But we get a good guest like that. I don't want to rush him off the phone, and I don't want to rush him through through talking about the picks. So, what's your availability Sunday night? Because Sunday is the first is free agency day, which we have done a show in the past. So I was thinking if you want to do something
Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday night's good for me. No,
Game of Thrones.
I've got the band practices on Sunday, but I'm done at 6:30. Should be home at 7. Could do a 7:30 show.
All right. So how about that? We will come back Sunday, July 1st, free agency show, and Tavares will be a Ranger by the not a chance.
Oh man.
But we'll do Sunday night show and we'll make we'll make sure lots of phone calls and
I'm sorry. I got a little long-winded. I like the people coming in with the phone calls. They're probably hot under the collar like we are and want to express it. I mean, if you want tomorrow night.
If they're hot now, there's nothing that's going to change their mind before Sunday. They're still going to be pissed. It's not like they're going to see these guys play between now and Sunday and go, oh, you know what? Maybe that was all right.
Well, if you want to come back on Wednesday and do like an hour show where we just take phone calls, we'll do that, and we could do Sunday. I mean, I don't know. Do you think? I mean,
I'll do it. I'll do that.
Right. All right.
That would work out very well, actually, because Wednesday I'll be home by myself again. So that would work out good. None of the kids will be here, so I don't have to, worry.
Because I feel like I want people to chime in and give us their opinions. Maybe they differ from us. Maybe they think it's that, a lot of people like that second round. I didn't. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
But that's people thought that the first pick was bad, but then they thought the Rangers kind of corrected course. I want to hear people's opinions, so I want to give,
All right, so let's do that. We'll come back Wednesday night. We'll take lots of phone calls, and we can talk a little bit more about our anniversary because we didn't get into that. And then Sunday we could do the free agency thing, and then we'll probably, unless something monumental happens, then we'll probably take a week or two off. And
on July 5th, I'm going to Alaska. I'll be
Are you really?
A cruise to Alaska.
Are you on a cruise?
Yeah,
oh wow, very nice.
I'm going to cruise to Alaska, and I signed up for the.
Are you staying with the
Dubinsky's? He's Alaskan, of course. I'm staying with the Dubinsky's, but I'm also taking an excursion on a helicopter that's going to land on a glacier.
Holy
which I'm a little. I know. I'm a little worried. This could be my last broadcast.
Oh my God!
Broadcast.
When are you going on the cruise? What do we got?
On the 5th. I'm leaving on the 5th.
5th of July.
5th of July, and I'm coming back on the 13th.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So then we'll do Wednesday. We'll come back Sunday. We'll probably be down for a couple weeks unless something big happens. And then after you come back, we'll do a show, and then Jen and I are on vacation in August. So in August, there's never anything going on. So
no, and I think also the Panarin. I saw that just in closing that Panarin said there's only like 3 teams, and one of them are the Rangers. So that would be good.
All right.
All right. So we'll
How
talk
old
about
is he?
that.
He's only 20.
He's not. He's like 26.
22? 20? Is he that old? I didn't even think he was that old.
He might not be. Well, he played like a couple years with... Yeah, maybe he's not even that old. No, you might be right. Maybe like 24, 23. I don't know. We'll find out his age by the next show.
Yes.
Before somebody posts.
We will delve into that. It's... So I apologize to those of you that were hanging out on hold waiting to talk tonight. We'll get to you Wednesday. We'll take care of you. We always do. We don't forget to dance with who brung us.
That's right. Panarin is 26.
26.
Mr. French.
Is that too old for the rebuild? That's too old for the rebuild.
No, this kid's
got to put a new edict out. Nobody over 25.
No. Panarin is a stud.
True.
Now we just got to get Isomov back, and we got to get Patrick Kane. No,
right.
I mean,
that's all we got. That's all we got to do.
That's all we got to do.
That's
So hopefully the trading deadline will bring us more hope than the draft did.
Yes.
But
right.
We'll do that.
So we'll see you guys Wednesday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. The whole bit.
I see. Well, I would have said it. The chat room was packed. The great Al DeMoro, who I always see in the Facebook group, is actually in the chat room. This is great.
Wow.
Lizzie Bears. Al DeMoro he's always battling in that Facebook group. It's good to see him.
Al is absolutely. You want to talk about people that are incensed with this draft? Al is off his nut. With this, he has been going crazy for 3 days.
Got good reason to.
Yelling and screaming at whoever will listen to him.
Well, I hope he listens to the beginning of this broadcast. I don't know. We really, what are they saying over in Fortunato Land? Great draft.
Everything's great. No, actually, Joe was questioning Gordy Clark's ability. He said something to the effect of anybody who always says I trust in Gordy, they need to be questioned. So I do, I do agree with him there. But,
definitely.
Stats and heat maps.
Did you say Pavel Buchnevich should have ran the draft?
I think he did.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, that goes.
No, I think Pavel Buchnevich did run the draft, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I get it now. I also, I blame this whole draft debacle on AV. AV, he really ruined this draft for the Rangers. So, just one last thing. I can't. Steve is he's a pro Buchnevich, so they're both people on both sides. It's I hope again.
He's pro Buchnevich, but he's not on the blue shirt banner wavelength of Buchnevich. He's I think he still believes in him, but I don't think he thinks that he's Tarasenko like blue shirt banner does. They're convinced that Pavel Buchnevich is the best player the Rangers have had in the last 20 years.
He's not better than Peter Peruka.
Oh, he's not.
Got to get 30 goals. All right, folks. Thank you for coming out and indulging us, and I'm glad you guys got some entertainment while we're here. Was glad to be back, Jim, in the presence of one such as you.
Yes, glad you're back. This is fun now. You're gonna get 3 shows in 5 days from us, or 6 days. That's exciting.
I think you're more excited than anybody. You're like Ed wants 2 shows now.
Right. That's great.
Well, I got all this pent-up Ranger affection.
Plus, we have to get as many as we can out of you because you could be dead on a glacier in 2 weeks.
Oh, please! You had to mention.
Well, you said I could. You brought it up.
Oh my!
You're getting on a helicopter.
All right. All right, everybody. I'll see you at the movie.
We love you. Thanks for being here. As always, we will see you Wednesday night. Get the old shows on iTunes. Get out, everybody!
I'm on the glacier.
Back to school, back to Target. This year, your kid's desktop won't stop. Markers, paper, pens, take note. You get it all for less. Shop our best back-to-school prices all season long at Target with Crayola, Up & Up, and Elmer supplies starting at 50 cents. Back to school, back to Target. This year, your kid's desktop won't stop. Markers, paper, pens, take note. You get it all for less. Shop our best back-to-school prices all season long at Target with Crayola, Up & Up, and Elmer supplies starting at 50 cents.